And you mentioned, he set a record for the amount of shots by a Liverpool player in the Premier League, 12. By the 19-minute mark, he'd had 6 shots, all without success. He probably had, in terms of his overall game, one of his poorest performances of the season, maybe even one of his poorest performances in a Liverpool shirt. He just sort of looked a little bit rusty, a little bit sort of off the pace, which is quite rare for him, and yet he still walks away with a goal. And I suppose that's the brilliance of Mo Salah, isn't it? He doesn't have to have the best game. He's still going to be delivering and producing for Liverpool.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and Klopp said after the game that he wasn't happy with the finish in the first half. He felt it was quite rushed, and I think Salah probably epitomised that. As I said before, there was the one, I think, when McAllister plays over the top, and he, on another day, if Liverpool probably 2 or 3 up, he probably cushions that with the side of his foot down to Núñez. But that kind of anxiety that was in and around Anfield, after going 1-0 down so early, it felt like everyone was kind of snatching at decisions and maybe doing things they wouldn't normally do. And as you say, Salah's 12 shots probably underlines that. But I mean, to be fair to him, he's denied a second goal right at the end, isn't he, by Verbruggen? I mean, it was an absolutely brilliant save, and I'm not entirely sure how he did it. It takes a deflection as well, which does take most of the sting out of it, but to get down to your right so quickly on another day, you're talking about Salah walking away with 2 goals, and as you say, he's in terms of his all-round game, in his all-round influence, it was probably one of his not worst performances, but his lesser performances this season. But he's a player now who's been at Liverpool for 7 years, or 7 years in the summer, and he'll have games like this where he's almost out the game, he's on the periphery, isn't he? And then he comes in and he scores 1 or 2 goals, but then at the same time he'll have games where he's the epicenter of it, he's the focal point, and he doesn't get his goals. So that's just the brilliance of Mo Salah. I mean, it's another 20 plus goal season for him. He's done that in every season now. He's just a modern day great, and he's one that I think he'll stand the test of time, won't he? I think maybe not now. I mean, obviously we do appreciate him, but I think his numbers we take for granted. I mean, you look at I was thinking about it last night. Actually, you look at a player like Heung-min Son or whatever, and I think Salah's outscored him in every season, including his final season at Rome. But if you look at kind of their reputations in the wider Premier League, a lot of people would say, "Oh, I'd rather take Son." Mm-hmm. And if you include Salah's season there, he scored 44 goals in his first season. Well, his first season back in England. He's won the Champions League, he's won the Premier League. He's literally won it all. He's scored the biggest goals. He's got the biggest assists. And as I always say, as I said just then, it feels that in 15, 20 years' time, we'll look back and it'll be an on this day Mo Salah did this. Only Mo Salah, whatever, and you'll think, wow, did that really happen? But he's just a phenomenal player, and if Liverpool are to win the Premier League and the Europa League and end with 3 trophies at the end of the season, I don't think there'll be too many more deserving than Mo Salah.
Yeah, and I think his numbers, as you say, we sort of take them for granted because they happen so frequently now. I mean, 20 plus goals in 7 consecutive seasons is crazy for a winger as well. I mean, I know he sort of doesn't always play like a winger, but and he's sort of coming into that Brighton game, he was averaging a goal or an assist every 76 minutes, which is the most of anyone in the league who's played more than 180 minutes. So it's crazy. And I think one of my favourite things about Mo is the fact that as he's sort of aged in the last few years, he's sort of adapted his game a lot. He's become a lot less, he had the sort of criticism levelled at him a lot when he first came to the club that he was selfish and he was taking on all these chances for himself, but actually now you see him sort of setting up his teammates. It's only him who has set up more winning goals than Alexis McAllister. I think he's set up 5 winning goals this season as well. He's got a real sort of good relationship with Núñez. You feel like now he does look for that. Obviously, he likes to take his chance to score, but also he does have an eye for a pass as well. And I think it's that ability to be able to adjust his game and become more of a playmaker that really sort of sets him apart from the rest. And it is one of the reasons that I think he's going to continue to play at a really high level for years to come. I mean, one of the big talking points at the moment is whether or not he will stay at Liverpool beyond this summer or beyond when his contract expires in 2025. I mean, what would be your initial sort of thoughts on that? Would you like to tie him down to another contract?
Oh, absolutely. And I think even if Liverpool don't have plans to have him here, obviously it depends at the end of the day who the manager is, but even if Liverpool don't have plans for him over the next 3 years, I think just purely for the resale value as well, he's absolutely worth tying down and throwing a 3-year contract at, because at this moment in time, as you say, he always finds ways to adapt his game, and I always think it's quite similar to what Ronaldo did at Real Madrid. I think 2013 he had a really bad knee injury, and he kind of moved away from that explosive winger that we saw at United and his early stages at Madrid, and he almost became obsessed with numbers. He became this number 9, and he spearheaded Madrid to 3 Champions League wins in a row, whatever. And his output, if you look at it in his first 5 years at Madrid compared to his last 5 years, is, I mean, obviously his first 5 years are brilliant as well, but in his second half of his career at Madrid, it kind of just took on new levels, and that feels very much like what Mo's done at Liverpool. He's kind of become obsessed with records, goal scoring records, dethroning the likes of Kenny Dalglish, Steven Gerrard, all those kind of players, on the way to becoming, hopefully, what you should do is end as, the top 3 of Liverpool's all-time goal scoring records. And you certainly won't back him not to do that, would you? I mean, as I say, if you're a new manager coming to this team now, I think it's a really nice team to inherit, and you're still probably looking at Salah as the focal point as that. I mean, he's 31, 32, so he, as I say, he's continued to adapt his game, and I think Klopp said in the past that there's no reason why he couldn't play till he's 37, 38, and even if he was to play till he's 34 at Liverpool, 35 kind of thing, I'm sure just because of the profile of the player, again, similar to Ronaldo, I'm sure you could command a good fee for him, and I think that will be key. So if it was me, I'm surprised he hasn't penned a new deal yet, because I think whenever you get into the final 12 months, it's always a bit sticky, and then especially it feels like that period between the last 12 months and the last 6 months, it just kind of flies by, doesn't it? And we saw how kind of drawn out the negotiations were, a few years ago. I mean, they might have started already or not, but it doesn't sound like there's been too much movement, does it? We haven't really heard a great deal, but I mean, if I was Salah, I'd be giving him a blank check and saying, what do you want? Where do you want the statue? Because that's the kind of level he deserves. And, I can understand why Liverpool might be hesitant to kind of give, a player in, 30 plus, a big contract. We've seen that with Michael Edwards before, with, Jordan Henderson. And, that was kind of earmarked as one reason why, well, it was rumoured to be one reason why he maybe stepped away from, obviously Klopp's kind of influence grew with player decisions, and maybe it was, he was too emotional with players he'd worked with for so long, and maybe there wasn't that cutthroat nature that you need at the elite level of football. But I don't think you can put Salah in the same bracket as that. And Van Dijk as well, I would say as well, he deserves a new contract as well. I mean, they both got 1 year left, or just over a year left, and I think it's imperative, along with whatever other business Liverpool do this summer, that they tie them both down.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that needs to be a priority, doesn't it, for Michael Edwards and for Richard Hughes as well. Obviously, coming in as sporting director, I think getting those two and Trent tied down to a new deal is probably more important than any signings that they're going to make this summer.